I sent one CV, but first I took the image and said, Klaus, you look a little bit not too tall and not too strong. Why don't you give yourself a little lift? And I made myself about 3 inches taller.
You didn't, Klaus.
It looks ridiculous. It looks goddamn awful.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders and previously known as Expat Life Germany. New name, I renamed it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and everything seems to be working. By the way, if you want links to all my social media places, and if you're already following me on social media, nothing has changed, but if you want to follow me, if you've just discovered the show, then go to thegermanyexperience.de/subscribe, and there you can get a list of links to my latest episodes. You can get a list of places that you can subscribe to this podcast, and you can even join my newsletter, which comes out once a month. So that's thegermanyexperience.de/subscribe. Another thing that's pretty cool, that from this week, I'm using chapters on the podcast. So that means if you want to get straight to the guest this week, then you can just skip right ahead. And it's, of course, only if your podcast app supports chapters. So, yeah, you can skip straight past all of this directly to the interview if you want. But why would you, right? Why? You've skipped ahead, haven't you? So last week, I had a guest appearance on another podcast called The Expat Appearance. Now, you might remember from a few episodes ago, Amy from The Expat Experience was on my podcast, and now I'm on her podcast. The episode is called Content Marketing and Podcasting in Nuremberg, Germany with Sean Behrens. That's me. And this is the write-up that Amy wrote up about the podcast episode. Sean shares his experience relocating from South Africa to Germany and how surprisingly painless it was. We compare and contrast some of the most notable cities in the country, including Berlin, Munich, Hamburg, and Nuremberg. We also discuss the difficulty of the German language and studying it through different means. And Sean offers advice of his own for aspiring expats for any country. It was a very fun episode, and go and listen to me being a guest on the Expat Experience. So something momentous happened in the history of this podcast last week. I got my first ever 1-star review on Apple Podcasts. The review is based on the German Carnival episode I did with Nina last week. And now, if you listen to the episode, you'll know German Carnival really annoys me. So I may have ranted a bit. I may have ranted a bit about German Carnival. And this listener was not pleased. And it resulted in a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts. This is what they wrote. Obnoxious. To be fair, it's not the first time I've been called that. The host talking about these German celebrations that are wonderful, fun, glorious. Now, I'm just going to stop there because these celebrations that you see as wonderful, fun, and glorious doesn't mean everyone sees them as wonderful, fun, and glorious. And that's okay. That's okay. My view of it is that I don't see them as wonderful, fun, and glorious. They're interesting. They're definitely interesting, but doesn't mean we all have to see it the same way. So yeah, back to the review. And all he can do is whine about how he hates them, talking about these traditions. Go back to South Africa then. Whoa. So I think I just have to kind of comment on that now. Like, to be honest, Carnival is maybe the one thing that would make me consider going back to South Africa. But a few episodes ago, I spoke about how much I love Christmas in Germany. I speak often about how much I love the German people. I often say how much I love Germany because we made the decision to stay here. I love Germany. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going back to South Africa because I don't like Carnival. So a little harsh. Back to the review. Let someone else do the segment on Fasching and Rosenmontag. Not impressive. Thinking of deleting. So I just want to say I'm glad you didn't delete. Don't delete, because it seems to me that you're a listener of the show because you're subscribed. So I assume that you've subscribed and you've heard a few episodes. And if this is the first time I've annoyed you, but you usually enjoy the podcast, I think we're going to be okay because I don't rant about Carnival in every episode. So it's fine. And now that I've done a Carnival episode and I've got it out of my system, I'm probably never going to do another one. The other scenario is, of course, that this was the first time you've ever listened to the show, you subscribed. And if that's the case, that's not a normal episode. That's definitely not even close to the format that I have for the normal episode. So, you know what? Don't delete. I think we can make this work. I really do. I think that I can make this work. But you know what I love about this is that someone cared enough to tell me their opinion. And this is amazing because what I can tell you is, as a podcaster sometimes, I don't know if listeners are hating something I put out or loving it. And sometimes it's good to know that somebody hated it. like, it's good to know. You know, now maybe they didn't have to put a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts. Maybe they could have sent me a mail to info@thegermanyexperience.de instead. But they chose the 1-star review, and that's fair. At least I know that this person was not impressed. So the thing is, I don't mind that I got a 1-star review. It doesn't bother me particularly. But what does bother me is that this review is now on the Germany Experience podcast profile page on Apple Podcasts. So that means when prospective listeners find the show, they're thinking about whether they want to listen or not. They're going to check out the profile on Apple Podcasts and they're going to see this review right in their faces. And the thing that bothers me the most is that is not indicative of this show. It's not even a reflection of it. It's one opinion based on one episode of this podcast from one person. So I need a little help here. I need to balance out the effect of this 1-star review. And maybe if you listen to this podcast, you like the podcast, and you don't mind that I hate fashing, then go to Apple Podcasts and give me a 5-star rating and give me some words of encouragement, and let's balance out that 1-star review. All right, now, as I promised, the guest this week, he is a Brazilian who moved from Brazil to Germany with his parents when he was 4 months old, and then at age 12, he moved back to Brazil. And much later on in his life, after a relationship ended, he decided to move back to Germany in his early 40s. Now, he could already speak German like a native speaker, and he knew and understood the culture. He'd been backwards and forwards between Germany for a while. So his move to Germany would be easy, right? Wrong. It has been anything but. Klaus discusses his difficulties here in Germany, about loneliness as an outsider, and also about what it was like moving at the age of 40. I recorded this interview back in November 2019, and 3 months have passed. So stick around after the interview, and I'll fill you in about what has been happening in Klaus's life since our interview. But right now, here's the interview. Let's start at the beginning of the story. Where were you born? Let's start with that.
Brazil, in South Brazil, in a city called Curitiba. And this was July 74. September 74, my family migrated over to Germany because my father was to take over a job as a regional manager at the Brazilian bank branches in Germany.
So you were born, sorry, what year did you say that was? 74 as well?
Yes.
So you were pretty much...
4 months after.
You were 4 months old when they moved to Germany?
Yeah, they smuggled me in.
I get the feeling you're not joking. Okay, so you were 4 months old and then moved to Germany. Whereabouts in Germany did you move to?
We moved to Hamburg the first 6 years, quite north in Germany, beautiful city. And I lived there until I was 6, so don't ask me any details.
You can't
I was I learned to speak German as a mother tongue, and at home we used to speak Portuguese, but not too much. It was some sort of directions given by the teacher at the kindergarten,
right,
or the other zoo where they took me every day.
Right. Did you find when you moved away, because you said you moved back to Brazil when you were 6, did you find...
No, I moved back to Brazil when I was 12.
Okay, and that you remember more about, right?
Oh, of course. I had my first good friendships were made back then.
Okay, so you were in Germany until 12 years old. Okay, so obviously your German was pretty fluent, and because what I've heard from a lot of people is when they move away when they're younger, they learn it as kids, and then they move away and then they kind of forget the German because they're not talking it all the time. Was that the case with you at 12 when you moved back to Brazil?
Well, it could have been my fate. The thing is that when I was 15, I tried to have a conversation in German over there, and it came out pretty much awful. And I said, Klaus, if you want, please go back to the Goethe school and learn some more German, for Christ's sake. So I did. I went back, and then since it was a native German, it took about a year, and I was already in the final class. You know what I mean? Yeah. Getting my degree from Goethe. Then when I was 19, I started a quite successful translator's career in Brazil. And my last client was Lothar Matthäus.
Lothar Matthäus, the football player.
Yeah, man, 2006.
Not bad.
In Brazil. Yeah, I was his shadow. It was only about 3 months, but I mean, it was great. I mean, I could do something most of us just dream about, which is cursing at the referee during a match. But I mean, really, really one-to-one translated for really low stuff that Matthews was swearing at the judge. And I was there translating it and yelling it into the referee's face like berserk, you know what I mean? That's everybody's dream, come on.
That is the dream. You were living the dream. That's factually correct.
Yeah, it was quite fun.
So that was the World Cup in 2006?
No, this was a South Brazilian soccer crew called Atlético Paranaense from the Bundesland Paraná. First league, they were pretty good, pretty well off back then.
Yeah.
And for Matthews, it was a way to try to stand up against Klinsmann, because Matthew kind of wanted the job as a German coach for the Nationalelf, but he simply didn't had what it takes, or what it took back then. I don't know, but he tried.
And Jürgen Klinsmann did a good enough job in the end, as it turned out.
I have to admit something. If you show me a Mustang horse, a grizzly bear, and a football, and ask me, Klaus, which one of the three is related to soccer, I'm so inclined to point out, I think it's the grizzly bear. I know nothing about soccer. Nothing.
What I found funny about that is that you have zero idea of football, and you end up being the translator for Lothar Matthäus.
I was the coach, if you look at it.
Yeah, you were the coach. You were the guy telling them what to do.
People. Yeah, you do this, because at the end of the day, players, they weren't really listening to what Matthews had to say. They were staring at me. So there are pretty big names back then that I said, stand up and run, you. Sorry, you got to beep this.
That's fine. I'll beep it.
And this was a hell of experience.
Very interesting. At which point in your journey did you head back to Germany?
At the end 90s and mid 2000s, I came on a regular basis to Hanover, right? So this was already warming up since then. But the final day was, I came to spend New Year's Eve with some friends in Latvia.
Okay.
And I had to cross Europe for that. And on the flight back, it was January 9th, 2017. I said, you want to know something, Klaus? To hell with everything.
Okay.
You're living in a country where you already felt a little bit the fish out of his pond. You're at a well-established profession. I was making really nice money, but my relationship had met an end shortly before that, and it was kind of heartbreaking.
Right.
And I said, well, my life was like, hey, there's nothing going on here. There's nothing for me here. Yeah. And I said, you want to know something? Let's try it back in Germany, okay? So I went to my apartment, sold everything I had, gave a lot of things away, and came to Germany with my German passport. I speak German pretty fluently.
Yeah.
3,000 euros, and that's pretty much it. Landed in Berlin, which isn't really Germany, right? You have been to Berlin, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been to Berlin a few times. It's not a typical German city. No,
it's the perfect place for you to set foot when you come to Germany. It's perfect. It has all the downsides of a big city. It is expensive as hell, but you find payable living room there if you are stubborn enough.
Yeah.
So I started sending out CVs then. I was sending out CVs, Sean. I'd say about 20 a day. And this I did for like 2 months. I sent out easily 400 CVs. I had some. Yeah. You have to. My job was finding a job. I didn't come to Germany to spend 3 weeks or 3 months or something like that. I came to spend at least 5 years.
Yeah, you wanted to work.
To see how it works out before I can decide what I do with my life.
With the CVs that you were sending out, first of all, were they all in the Berlin area? And secondly, were they all related to the job that you wanted to do, or were you just open to pretty much anything at that point?
They were in the industry I was working in. So it was for search engine optimization. Mm-hmm. But it was across Germany because the Jobbörse from the Arbeitsamt, which is, how would you translate that?
I guess the job listings, the job exchange, I guess.
Yeah, from the Arbeitsamt.
Yeah,
it has a lot of opportunities.
Yes, But they're mostly in German, which was suitable for your situation. I think what a lot of people who come to Germany find is that there's a lot of jobs, but they're mostly just in German.
Yeah, for jobs in English, you got to look at, LinkedIn.
Yeah. You got to
That's
do
where
it,
you got to
folks.
go.
You got
That's
to,
where you
folks.
got to go.
Yeah.
But okay, so I arrived in February, and I got my first job in August here in Mannheim at the same employer where I am at right now.
Right. That's a long time to wait.
It was about 6 months.
Did you feel like you were going nowhere during that time? Did you think it was ever going to happen?
No, I had a lot of interviews.
Oh, okay, so you did have interviews in between.
And every time you get a 9 in your face, you have to learn something out of it. And
just keep going.
When it comes to CVs, man, it's you got to have a university degree when you do yours.
I know.
Once you did it well, everything's shiny. But until then, Jesus Christ, it's tough.
You got to get through it. Did you figure it out that where it was in your CV? Sort of from job to job, you were going, okay, I need to change that in the CV, and then you update it, and as you went along until you had what was the perfect piece of paper.
I did this a long time until I accepted that I was completely, utterly incapable as a journalist of writing 4 bloody sentences without one typo and not seeing it.
Okay.
And I have to admit, this is what stopped me from getting people calling me to take it to the next level. It's typos, bloody typos.
Yeah.
I had this thing with the picture. Okay, I'm not agreeable with that.
No.
But they want a bloody picture. Here you have it. And it cannot be a selfie taken, I don't know where in Disneyland. No, it has to be this, 3/4 of a profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to convey something with the way you look. It's ridiculous, but okay, if that's the way it works.
You got to play the game, unfortunately.
I didn't come over to set the rules. I came to learn new ones. So let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I hired an enterprise to do it. I paid good money for it. I paid 210 euros for a professionally written CV.
Okay.
With a hell of a picture, but this one I took at home with a nice camera and light and all that thing.
Right.
And bunch of Photoshop. No, funny story. I sent one CV, but first I took the image and said, Klaus, you look a little bit not too tall and not too strong. Why don't you give yourself a little lift? And I made myself about 3 inches taller.
You didn't, Klaus.
Looks ridiculous. It looks goddamn awful. You say, Klaus, it looks a meatball, but you squeezed it. You know what I mean? So everything is there, but it's went to the wrong place. So it was terrible.
Right. You didn't get that job, obviously.
Forget about it. No, I get this job in Mannheim first. And it was very interesting because it's a pretty small firm, what I'm working at right now. They have about 8, 9 co-workers. Everybody knows each other pretty well or have been there for ages and this. And I thought, Klaus, maybe this is the perfect place for you to get in touch for the first time with the work environment in Germany.
Yeah.
It's much better than landing in some, meat grinding big corporation.
Yeah, with huge hierarchies and not much personal interaction
assistance.
And so on. Yeah.
None at all,
Uh-huh.
So it was a smart move. But 2.5 months later, I was invited to move to Hanover, which I knew pretty well by then, the city, to take over the SEO management of the huge e-commerce with easily 2,000 shops. So I stood there for 1 year, 9 months. Then I had this offer to get back to Baden-Württemberg, to my first employer. He was kicking off a project that was very promising at the time. I embraced it, and believe it or not, I got kicked out. I was made redundant.
Oh, no.
They hired me in May. Made this wise decision to say, no, we're going to shut down the online marketing operations. I said, okay.
So you'd moved back. You'd been in Hanover.
Hanover, yeah.
Then you moved back to Mannheim.
Yes.
And shortly after you moved back to Mannheim, they made you redundant.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
How nice is that?
Yeah, perfect.
I think I'm now in somewhat of a make or break thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 45. I had 12 jobs in the last 10 years. 12.
Okay.
Moving from city to city. But in Brazil, here I lived in 6 different cities since I arrived. So I'm tired. You know what I mean? I really want to find a job, and I'm going to give me the time to do it right now because I'm not under pressure.
Okay, that's the best situation.
I have saved some money. Let's see how it goes. But let me tell you about a big no-no I did when I came to Germany. A big, huge no-no, and maybe I'm giving you something to think about. Maybe something you yourself experienced, which is: do not, please God, do not consume German sensationalist media. It is poison refined.
Yeah. Are you talking about things like
really cheap sensationalist journalism
with exclamation marks on the headlines and whatnot?
Alcoholism, drug abuse, right-wing movements, and this bloody hard sphere. I had my kicks seeing this kind of stuff because I'm human. I'm bound to sensations. And of course, I had my fair share of looking and seeing this kind of news. They call it news. But at the end of 6 months, I found myself in a mental state that I had to fight to get out of. And it was pure poisoning from this bloody sensationalist media if you have nothing to do. Being on a job hunt isn't something you can do from 8 in the morning till 5 o'clock p.m. There isn't that much to do. When you have time left, do not fall victim to this kind of content because it will drag you down. If you're trying to climb up, fingers off this kind of content. That's all I can say.
What was the mental state that it brought about you, and how did it land you in that mental state?
Well, when I found myself fearing for the first time for my job and what could happen if I lose it, and I was projecting myself in all those scenes we all so well know from this documentary. So they call it documentaries. It's not.
Right.
When that picture came to my mind, I said, hey, no. Anything but this. Why are you thinking like this? I had to talk to myself because I'm alone. And loneliness in Germany, it's a huge, huge subject.
Yeah.
Because I thought that coming back from Brazil, speaking German fairly better than many Germans, Sean. Better than many Germans. I thought that there really wouldn't be no immigration for me. You know?
Yeah, you would just kind of slip into the country and get into the rhythm straight away, right?
Kicking, yeah, of course. I'm part of the crew, part of the Mannschaft. Where's the ball? And it simply doesn't happen. There were days in which the only people I knew was the Kellner and die Kellnerin. I mean, the waitress and the waiter.
Yeah.
You know, and when it becomes like this, when you start looking at your deck, what you got in your hand, and you say, oh, how many people do I know? I know 4. The nice girl at the bakery, the girl at the butcher's, the waitress and the waiter. You said, hey, Klaus, this is come on. You can't really cry about being lonely in Germany when you haven't taken a step towards making contact to these people. And this is something that has to be done. But I just procrastinate like hell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Sometimes sometimes my criticism kicks in and I said, do you really want to be friends with that asshole?
Yeah.
I said, nah.
I'm not got no time for that shit.
something in this direction.
Yeah.
But so you have to learn to deal with loneliness, and you can't complain about it if you're not reaching out for social contact.
So did you reach out for that social contact?
In Hanover, I even came as far as going to a soccer match from the Viertelliga, something like that.
And I know how you feel about soccer.
Yeah. But thanks to the dear Lord, there wasn't a match that day, and I end up at a completely empty place. And I said, okay, there's no one around. Okay, God, I think I know what you mean.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. But getting to know your neighbors is a good step if you're fortunate enough to live at a place where your neighbors are cool. And in Hanover, I had this luck.
So that's really, a start.
Yeah, so it's 4 people and 2 babies, but the babies don't count, right? No. So it's 4 people more. You can invite to your house to dinner. They invite you back. You sometimes have a little discussion. You know, really cool people, relaxed people. They are around. They are around. Yeah. Try a neighbor.
What are the possibilities of heading back to Brazil?
I wanted to give myself this at least 5 years time to know if it was a smart decision to move in the age of 42.
Mm-hmm.
Because as of now, it hasn't really been smart in terms of it's hard to get by in Germany.
Mm.
Even for me, someone who speaks German fluently, knows the culture in and out. Getting to meet people is something that's quite hard in Germany.
Yeah.
Getting in sync with your routine or even creating a routine has been somewhat challenging to me since I got back. But if I'm going to judge after 2 years and 9 months making this switch, I think it's way too soon.
You got to give it a proper go.
Of course. I cannot really say that I adapted if I leave now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when we do these things, you need to give it a proper chance before heading back. So I think that's good. But it's tough, and it is surprising for me to hear that for someone who does know the culture, who can speak the language, that even those people will have difficulties. And I think that should make a lot of other foreigners who are doing this kind of thing, maybe without the German knowledge, I think that should make them feel a bit better, that it's not them, it's not their lack of German knowledge, it's just that integrating into German culture is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and what's your age when you come over? Do it as soon as possible. Do not wait until you're in your late 30s to get over or in your early 40s as I did. Yeah. Come earlier so you have more time to adapt, because I haven't really lived anyplace else, but I know a fair amount about Brazil. I know the United States. I know quite a bit about Europe. Spent some months in Spain back in the 2000s. So Germany has a uniqueness when it comes to being resilient to live here.
I do want to ask you just one more thing about the age.
Please do.
What do you think it is about being older that makes it difficult to integrate into German culture? What do you think?
I think your way of understanding things, along with this comes wanting things to be a way they are not, but insisting on them. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of self-inflicting sabotage going on.
Okay.
This can happen. The German humor isn't really something I'm that agreeable with.
No, I'm with you there.
I mean, I'm a Monty Python's guy. I mean, this is my basic school of comedy. It's like Ricky Gervais, Monty Python, of course, everything that John Cleese touches or touched.
Yeah.
Or what's the name of that dude? The one that takes the family across the entire United States.
National Lampoon.
Yes, Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase is the best.
Chevy Chase. And that kind of humor. So if you try to play these kind of cards in your day-to-day humor here in Germany, you will be looked upon like an alien.
It's true. It is true. I think in a lot of situations it's the case. I must say I'm very fortunate with the people that I'm working with now, in that I was very surprised, because everywhere else I'd worked in Germany, the sense of humor was terrible. The office, the people that I'm working with right now are mostly Germans, and they get all that stuff. They are Monty Python fans. They are fans of American sitcoms, even, and good American sitcoms. And I'm like, thank God, because it's the first place in Germany that I've been able to just make those kinds of jokes and hear those kind of jokes being made from the Germans. But what you're saying is true. In general, the general rule of thumb is that the German sense of humor is very difficult to understand. It's just a different brand of humor.
I don't know. They have a specific word now. That's Schadenfreude. That is almost sarcasm, but it's not quite. And they have huge amounts of Schadenfreude when it comes to make a joke. It can be something that hurts so much that they can make fun of this. And at the same time, you have to build your humor. You can't really take it seriously, because maybe this is the way they really think it's funny, and they don't intend to really hurt you.
Yeah.
So But you gotta be able to laugh of things, right? And if you're able to laugh about yourself in Germany, I think it's quite good medicine.
Okay, Klaus, I think we're running up to the end of our time. So, as the last question for our interview is, what is the one bit of advice that you can offer new people coming to Germany, new expats arriving in Germany?
Know exactly why are you coming to Germany, because at the end of the day, it's going to ask a whole lot of you. And if you're endorsing yourself, if you know exactly why you're coming, and you know that the path and the road to get there where you're going to go, and I firmly believe that you are going to get there, do it. But think, why are you coming to Germany? Because if you're just coming to Germany because you want to escape another situation you're not comfortable with, there must be better places on this earth than Germany. I don't think that Germany is a great country for you to come and make money. So if you're coming from a place where the Wirtschaft, where economy is kind of not a big thing, not much going on, think twice before coming to Germany. Do not believe all the tales of handouts here in Germany, because there is no such thing. There is no handout. And learn the language. If you can speak the language, I believe things will be easier for you. But know why you're coming to Germany. Without this, there are other places.
That's great advice, Klaus.
I mean, I came because I have the passport, right? Where was I supposed to go? Detroit?
Yeah, it made sense. And you could speak the language. So it does make sense.
And I can speak the language, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good opportunity for you.
Doesn't take a genius for that.
Klaus, thank you so much. It was such a fun chat. So much fun talking to you. And I will definitely be getting back in touch with you in 6 months and find out where your journey has led you. Because
Sean, that sounds awesome. I want to thank you for the opportunity of sharing the little I had to share about my experience getting back to Germany. Yeah. You can find me on Facebook. So let's do some networking. Let's go on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Let's connect on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because in my career, I have met a ridiculous amount of people from the search marketing industry and from the online marketing industry. So if you're into that,
get in touch.
I would really much like to help you to reach out, because I think what are social networks good for, if not for networking?
Yeah, you may as well network with them, because they take in your data, so you may as well use them for something.
You just can't network on Zing.
They make it very difficult. I think we're not connected on LinkedIn yet. I will send you a connection request very soon, and I will also put all the links to your social media profiles in the show notes of this podcast episode. So thank you very much,
Klaus.
Yes,
Sean, thank you so much, man. Have a wonderful evening, and
you too.
Goodbye.
We'll talk again. As I mentioned before, the interview that was recorded back in November 2019, and I promised to give a quick update as to what's happening in Klaus's life now. I emailed him recently, and he got back to me and he said, my job situation hasn't improved. And then he told me he's currently searching, but he's being careful and patient, looking for his next employer, because he would hate to have the same experience again, where he joins a company and boards suddenly decide that they want to make the department redundant or something like that. So he's been very careful, and he wants to find the right position. And he wrote, of course, I'm on the hunt. I will be in Hamburg next week, Malta in 2 more weeks, and only God knows where in between these dates. I wish Klaus nothing but the best for his search for a new job. He's such a positive guy, and it was such a fun chat. And I have no doubt he's going to find something that is right for him. If you want to get hold of him, I've posted all his links to his profiles, to his LinkedIn profile and more in the show notes. Feel free to connect with him. And maybe if you have a lead for an opportunity that Klaus can follow, he's a search engine optimization professional, get in touch with him. Let him know. And I'm sure he'll appreciate any lead that he can get. And that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to join the Facebook group so we can discuss different things about this episode that you might have on your mind, or some thoughts or opinions that you want to share. And go visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de. Music in this episode, theme song by my band, 10 Cent Janes. Other music in the episode, Until the End, by Ryan Anderson. And I'll speak to you again next week. Auf Wiederhören.